You know when I said that historical fiction tends to dominate the Women's Prize? Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today is the day.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Today's the day!
I'm so excited. Today is the announcement day for the Women's Prize for Fiction longlist. It was announced at 8 a.m. this morning, and I have not opened Instagram, I have not opened TikTok, just so that I can get my honest reaction on camera. A couple of days ago, I did make a list of predictions for books that I think might end up on the long list, books that I would like to see on the long list. I'm going to put the list up here now. I honestly, I don't think I'm going to be right about any of them, because usually when the long list is announced, I will not have recognized any of the books. But I think last year, 2024, was kind of the first year where I've been like really kind of locked into the books that people are talking about, the books that kind of the big ones that came out over the past year. So I think I have a slightly better idea than I did last year of books that might potentially make the list. You know what? If even one of my predictions makes the list, then I'm going to be unbelievably happy. I will feel like I have won University Challenge. I'm going to feel so big brained, even though it's probably not a particularly, big achievement or anything. But it is for me. This is my Oscar nominations day. This is my version of that, because I have been following the Women's Prize for a couple of years now, and I am also I've taken it upon myself to very kind of slowly read all of the previous winners of the prize, since it first started back in like the 90s. I think this is the 30th Women's Prize, I'm pretty sure, which is exciting. Don't ask me how well I'm doing with that challenge, because I'm not doing very well. But yeah, the winner of the prize this year, one of these books that is on the long list, is going to make it onto my TBR by the summer. So I do have personal stakes in this, and I am kind of hoping that either it's a book that I already own, or it's a book that I'm, remotely interested in. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on it. I'm actually a little bit nervous now. I've tried to work out what the best way is for me to react to the announcement, whether it's like on their website or like on their Instagram or something. But I think I've decided I'm gonna watch the video that they put up and have it in one ear, so I don't get any kind of feedback or anything on the mic. And that way, the books are going to be revealed to me one by one, so I can react to them individually. And I can also potentially get a little bit of information about books that I don't recognize. And even then, I might actually look the books up on Goodreads anyway, just to get some more information about them. Yeah, because again, I probably won't recognize any of the books on the long list. Anyway, I have yapped for long enough, so yeah, let's get to it. I've got my cup of tea. We are going to spill some tea. Not my actual cup of tea, because that would be a slight hazard with, wires and my very expensive iPad around. But yeah, let's go. Oh, okay. We have Good Girl by Aria Aber, which I know nothing about, but I have seen it on a couple of people's predictions lists. So yeah, that is exciting. An electric debut novel about the daughter of Afghan refugees and her year of nightclubs, bad romance, and self-discovery. A portrait of the artist as a young woman set in a Berlin that can't escape its history. That sounds amazing. Oh my goodness. I want to add that to my wish list. As soon as I'm done filming, I'm going to be adding that book to my Waterstones wish list. That sounds fantastic. And the fact that it's a debut as well, that's massive. Huge congrats. That sounds really cool. We're already off to a brilliant start. Ah! I was right! I was right! Ah! We have Dream Count by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, which literally I think it comes out tomorrow. Which, like, the fact that it's not even out yet, that's a massive power move. I knew that this book was gonna be on the long list. Like, the hype for it has been insane. Like, there has been like just a massive publicity campaign. So yeah, I was definitely. I think this was the one I was most certain would be on the long list. That said, I don't actually know anything about this book, so I'm going to quickly look up the synopsis. A publishing event 10 years in the making, a searing, exquisite new novel by the best selling and award winning author of Americana and We Should All Be Feminists, the story of four women and their loves, longings, and desires. That also sounds very cool. We're 2 books in, and already it's a very solid list. Hello, it's me again. I am midway through editing this video and I need to add a kind of addendum to this section because I have been doing a little bit of research and I don't know how I didn't know this before, but apparently Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a TERF, which isn't great. I have been Googling and reading articles and stuff, and I don't think she has said or done anything too incriminating since like 2022, which is probably why I haven't heard of this before because I kind of joined Bookstagram, BookTube, etc. in 2023. But she also hasn't apologized or like taken back any of the comments that she made like before then. She's kind of been making the odd transphobic comment since 2017, and she's also defended J.K. Rowling, which really isn't a good look. So yeah, safe to say I will not be buying her book, and I'm still, I'm not surprised that she was nominated. Um, just a little bit disappointed that I was right. I think even if I had known that she was a TERF, I still probably would have predicted that she would have been nominated. But yeah, slightly disappointed in the Women's Prize, especially considering they have nominated one single book written by a trans author in the entire 30 years of the prize. And now there is a chance that the second person to ever win the Women's Prize twice is going to be a TERF. Like, that could happen. Yeah, it's not the best look for them, is it? So yeah, this is me kind of formally rescinding my excitement at being right. And yeah, I'm not surprised, I'm just disappointed, really. And I also probably should have done more research about these authors before making this video. Especially, the ones that I actually predicted, like this one. So yeah, I apologize for that. And yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now. Oh! Oh my god! Oh, that's fantastic! We have The Ministry of Time by Callianne Bradley, which I didn't even think it was eligible. I thought it would have been published too early. I thought it would have missed the eligibility window, but oh, I love that book. I read it in January and it was like it's already one of my favorite books of the year. That's fantastic. I was really hoping we were going to get a bit more genre fiction in this year's long list because I think there has generally on social media been kind of a shift towards anti-intellectualism, and the idea that genre fiction and like popular culture and stuff shouldn't be looked down upon, and should be still be considered for like awards and stuff. So I was definitely thinking that at least one book on the long list was gonna be sci-fi or fantasy or even romance, and I mean this is a sci-fi romance, so oh, that makes me so happy. So for anyone who doesn't know about this book, like, you should read it. You should absolutely read it. I would definitely recommend it. It's a kind of speculative sci-fi in a version of Britain where the British government has worked out the means for time travel and has started bringing over refugees, or they call them expats, from the past in order to kind of try and settle them into the modern world. And our narrator is employed as a bridge, or someone who kind of lives with one of the expats in order to help them adjust to modern life, modern day living. And yeah, it's a nice little love story in there. The plot is super twisty, and yeah, oh, that makes me so happy. We have our first book that I don't actually recognize at all. This is Somewhere Else by Jenny Deiches. Okay, I'm looking on Goodreads right now, and it's only got 14 ratings and 6 reviews. So, like, this is a proper obscure book. Rosa Roshkin is 5 years old when her family are murdered in a pogrom, and she is forced to leave behind everything she knows with only a suitcase of clothes and her father's violin. Somewhere Else is an epic generational novel about womanhood and Judeo Scottish experience across 2 world wars, the creation of Israel, and the fall of the Berlin Wall. A novel which explores today's most difficult and urgent questions, not least of which how to find identity in displacement. That is interesting. As I have probably mentioned before, I'm not a fan of historical fiction, and I'm especially not a fan of historical fiction set during World War I/World War II. Like, that area of history just doesn't interest me at all. That said, I do really love The Book Thief, so I think that might be my exception to the rule. But yeah, this one doesn't really interest me. So yeah, I'm on the fence about that. I'm gonna reserve judgment until I hear more reviews about it, because as I said, I literally know nothing about this book. I don't recognize it at all. Um, but yeah, that is definitely an interesting choice. Also, as an aside, I really like how the judges are talking about the books with a lot of kind of passion and excitement. Like, you can tell that they genuinely loved all of the books that are on the long list, which is really cool. It does give me a lot of confidence that, all of these books are genuinely good. We have another book that I don't recognize at all as well. We have Amma by Sarade de Silva. Okay, so this is a multi generational saga, which I don't think I've read many multi generational sagas, but I've always been intrigued by them. I think because they are generally quite long, and I'm not really a long book person. 3 generations, 3 continents, 3 sexualities. 1951, Singapore. 10-year-old Josephina kills her abuser. This trauma becomes the defining moment in the lives of Josephina, her daughter Cythera, and her granddaughter Annie. The effects cascade through generations as Annie sets out across the world to discover what happened to her fractured family. Set in Sri Lanka, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, and London, Armour is a novel about family, displacement, secrets, and how the past lives with us forever. Yeah, that does sound pretty good. Again, it's historical fiction, but I do know how much the Women's Prize absolutely loves historical fiction. So I'm not entirely surprised. And it also looks like it might be a queer story, or there might be some queer representation in there as well, which is very exciting. Okay, after a very strong start, I've kind of fallen off now. We have another book that I don't recognize at all. We have Crooked Seeds by Karen Jennings. Okay, a woman in post-apartheid South Africa confronts her family's troubling past in this taut and daring novel about national trauma and collective guilt from the Booker Prize long-listed author of An Island. So I think this is also slightly historical. It mentions the 1990s, so not like massively historical, but still kind of historical. I'm fairly sure apartheid in South Africa ended fairly recently as well, so yeah, not massively historical. It looks to be a little bit of a crime book, a little bit of a mystery book, which again isn't really my thing, but if it has a slightly more literary take on it, then I don't know, it might be interesting. God, I'm hoping that I recognize a few more. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All Fours by Miranda July, which I did not predict, but I have had nothing but good things about it, and I've seen it on a lot of people's predictions lists. So that is very exciting. I might have to keep my eye on that one. And even better news, it's a book that I definitely recognize. So yeah, I haven't completely shamed myself. An irreverently sexy, tender, hilarious, and surprising novel about a woman upending her life is the tagline on Goodreads. A semi famous artist announces her plan to drive cross country from LA to New York. 20 minutes after leaving her husband and child at home, she spontaneously exits the freeway, beds down in a nondescript motel, and immerses herself in a temporary reinvention that turns out to be the start of an entirely different journey. That, again, sounds brilliant. I have had this book on my radar, and again, I have heard nothing but good things about it. So I have been very curious. So yeah, this might be a sign that I need to read it. I'm possibly going to wait until the paperback comes out, though. I think this might be a paperback situation. But yeah, that's very fun. Oh, here we go. Here's another one that I do recognize. We have The Persians by Sanam Maluji, I think is how you pronounce that. A family confronts a past that is both keeping them together and preventing them from breaking free. I think it's about a family of Iranian migrants slash refugees. So yeah, it does look like another family slash multi-generational saga, which is very fun. So yeah, as I said, I have heard before. I believe I follow the publisher on Instagram. Let's say who published it. Yes, Fourth Estate published it, and I follow Fourth Estate on Instagram, which is probably how I have heard of it. But I might have to add that one to my wish list as well. That sounds very interesting. I will say the Women's Prize is generally very good with diversity, especially in recent years. I think they have always had a fairly diverse long list, but this long list especially, I am noticing that it is very diverse in terms of like race and ethnicity and like countries, and there are even some, queer books in there as well. Okay, we have Nesting by Rashina Donnell, which I have seen on pretty much everyone's predictions lists. I haven't actually heard anything about the book, and I don't think I've actually kind of heard of it until I started seeing it on people's predictions lists. So that's very cool. It's another vaguely unfamiliar one for me. On a bright spring afternoon in Dublin, Kira Fay makes a split second decision that will change everything. Grabbing an armful of clothes from the washing line, Kira straps her two young daughters into her car and drives away. Head spinning, all she knows for certain is that home is no longer safe. This was meant to be an escape, but with dwindling savings, no job, and her family across the sea, Kira finds herself adrift, facing a broken housing system and the voice of her own demons. As summer passes and winter closes in, she must navigate raising her children in a hotel room, searching for a new home, and dealing with her husband Ryan's relentless campaign to get her to come back. Because leaving is one thing, but staying away is another. Ooh, another book about running away. It's kind of similar to All Fours, but not quite. I would say it's potentially the love child of All Fours and Breakdown by Kathy Sweeney, which is also about a mother in Ireland, coincidentally leaving home and staying in a hotel while her husband tries to get her back. But in that book, she actually leaves the kids at home as well. So, yeah, that's very cool. That's another book I might need to add to my wish list. This is like a really strong long list, guys. Ooh, that's exciting. The Dream Hotel by Layla Lalami, which I think again is another speculative fiction. Oh, that's really exciting. I love that there's kind of there are multiple kind of genre fiction picks in the long list. I have heard of this one, haven't read it. I didn't add it to my predictions list, although I feel like I should have. It's on my wish list to buy at some point because I do want to read it. Sarah has just landed at LAX, returning home from a conference abroad when agents from the Risk Assessment Administration pull her aside and inform her that she will soon commit a crime. Using data from her dreams, the RAA's algorithm has determined that she is at imminent risk of harming the person she loves most, her husband. For his safety, she must be kept under observation for 21 days. The agents transfer Sarah to a retention center, where she is held with other dreamers, all of them women trying to prove their innocence from different crimes. With every deviation from the strict and ever shifting rules of the facility, their stay is extended. Months pass, and Sarah seems no closer to release. Then, one day, a new resident arrives, disrupting the order of the facility and leading Sarah on a collision course with the very companies that have deprived her of her freedom. That sounds amazing. I am definitely going to read that. That is super cool. I really like speculative fiction, and it's kind of giving a little bit of Handmaid's Tale, a little bit of that. Oh, I can't remember what that film is, but it's the film where like there's an agent and he works for a company that like predicts crimes that people are going to commit, and suddenly that company predicts that he's like going to commit murder, so he has to like go on the run. And I can't remember what that film is, but like they use like iris, like eye scanning technology to like identify people and like where people are. Kind of sounds a little bit like that as well. That is very exciting. Ah, this is such a solid list, guys. Usually when a long list comes out, and I think this has happened with the Women's Prize before, this has happened with the Booker Prize before, and the International Book Prize. It's been kind of overwhelmingly like historical fiction and like books that I don't recognize, and none of them really appeal to me that much. But like this is great. This is a really solid list. There are so many books that I'm gonna be adding to my wish list. Okay, we have another book that I don't recognize. I think I spoke too soon. This is A Little Trickery by Rosanna Pike. Oh, this looks like it might be historical fiction. Is it historical fiction? Yes, it is historical fiction. A Little Trickery is blazingly original, disarmingly funny, and deeply moving, portraying a side of Tudor England rarely seen. It's a tale of belief and superstition, kinship and courage, with a ragtag cast of characters and an unforgettable and distinctly unangelic heroine. Okay, I stand corrected. That does actually sound pretty interesting. I am a fan of a ragtag cast of characters. I do enjoy books with ragtag casts. Okay, I might actually be a little bit interested in in reading that one, even though it is historical fiction. Oh yes! Yes! Yes!
Vindication!
This is the other book that I was almost 100% certain that was going to be on the long list. The Safe Keep by Yael van der Walden. Like, this was shortlisted for the Booker Prize last year, and I was so sure that at least one of those books on the shortlist was going to be on this long list, because 5 out of 6 of them were written by women. So, like, obviously, at least one of them had to be longlisted for the Women's Prize. And everyone has been raving about this one. I have seen it on literally everyone's predictions lists. Oh, I'm gonna have to read this one as well, aren't I? And I think this one is sapphic as well. Oh, this is exciting. Oh wait, shit, is this historical fiction as well? I did not realize that this was historical fiction. I genuinely had no idea. Oh my god. You know when I said that historical fiction tends to dominate the Women's Prize? An exhilarating, twisted tale of desire, suspicion, and obsession between two women staying in the same house in the Dutch countryside during the summer of 1961. A powerful exploration of the legacy of World War II and the darker parts of our collective past. I know I said that I'm not a fan of historical fiction, especially historical fiction that is kind of centered around the world wars. But I might just have to read this because it's sapphic. There are two wolves fighting inside me. One of them is my hatred of World War historical fiction, and the other wolf is my love of sapphic fiction. Who is going to win? Unstoppable force meets a movable object. But overall, I am just very happy that 2 of my predictions have been correct. Okay. I recognize this one. This is The Artist by Lucy Steeds, which I do recognize, but I don't know anything about it. Oh, it's another historical fiction. Not another one.
You're joking. Not another one? Oh, for God's sake, I can't honestly.
All Joseph wants is to be let into Tartuffe? Tartuffe? All Joseph wants is to be let into Tartuffe's world. I don't know. All Etty wants is to escape it. The year is 1920. The place is a remote farmhouse in Provence, home to reclusive painter Edouard Tartuffe and his niece Etty. Into this strange silent house walks a young journalist hoping to write an article about Tartuffe. But the more he entangles himself in the peculiar household, the more Joseph's curiosity grows. Etty cooks and cleans for her uncle. She prepares his studio, scrubs his paintbrushes, and creates the perfect environment for him to work. She has never gone further than the local village. She is sharp eyed and watchful, but beneath her cool exterior, Joseph senses something simmering. Etty, Joseph, and Tartuffe circle each other throughout the hot, crackling summer until finally they collide. The artist is about two people grabbing the other by the hand and pulling each other into life. I think I might have to give that one a miss. I don't know. It's not grabbing me. It's not really piquing my interest. Yeah, I am. I'm interested to see other people's reviews of it, because it might actually be like really, really good. But yeah, not really my genre. So okay, we have Birding by Rose Ruane, which I don't recognize. In a small seaside town, autumn is edging into winter. Gulls ride winds over the waves, and two women pass each other on the promenade, as yet unaware of each other's existence. Is this sapphic as well? No, I don't think so. It's not. It's not tagged as LGBT, so yeah, it's just wishful thinking. It's a very long synopsis, so I'm not going to read it. It does sound interesting though. Um, yeah, about kind of two parallel lives. Um, with kind of older women, well, middle-aged women as the protagonists, which you don't tend to see that often, or at least I don't tend to read about. I more often read about younger protagonists, kind of in their teens and their 20s. So it might be interesting for me to read something different, intriguing, but definitely not kind of one that I would jump to read. Oh, here we go. Fundamentally by Nusaiba Yunus, which I have heard of, and I think it was actually published like a few days ago, like literally not that long ago. So that's very exciting. A wickedly funny and audacious debut novel following an academic who flees from heartbreak and lands in Iraq with an insane job offer, only to be forced to do the work of confronting herself. It's another debut. That's very cool. Very cool. That does sound very interesting. That's another book that I'm going to have to keep an eye on, I think. Ooh, Elizabeth Strout, Tell Me Everything, which I have seen on a lot of people's predictions lists. I think this is set in the same universe as like Olive Kitteridge and like O. William and things like that, which I. It's never really been a series I've been particularly interested in. It's never really been on my radar, but yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised that this has ended up on the long list. From Pulitzer Prize winning author Elizabeth Strout comes a stunner, according to People, of a novel about new friendships, old loves, and the very human desire to leave a mark on the world. And there is a very long description. Yeah, as I said, it's not really been on my radar, and looking at the synopsis, I'm not massively intrigued by it. I don't know, it must be good if it's been nominated for the Women's Prize, and it's also been nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards for Readers' Favorite Fiction. So, you know, it must be a good book. But yeah, it's not one I'm hugely excited by. How many more books are there? I've completely lost count. Oh, are we done? Right, that's it. Well, that's the long list. um, yeah, some surprises, definitely. Um, a couple of books that I did predict correctly, which again, very excited by. I'm pleased that I recognize quite a lot of them. And there's even a book that I've read actually. I have read The Ministry of Time, and yeah, that is, I think the fact that I've read a single book on there is better than I've done pretty much any other year. So that makes me very happy as well. Early favorites, obviously The Ministry of Time. It is an absolute brilliant book. So yeah, definitely rooting for that one to be on the shortlist. Um, Also kind of rooting for the Dream Hotel. I would really like to see some kind of speculative fiction or like sci-fi or whatever win. Again, because we haven't had a speculative fiction win in a while. I think the last one was The Power by Naomi Alderman. And I can't remember what year it won, but it was a few years ago. And I'm also very excited by All Fours and The Safekeep. I'm also intrigued by The Persians and Amma. There was another one I was interested by. I can't remember what it was. Was it Good Girl? I think it was Good Girl actually. The first one. Oh, that's it. It's very exciting. It's a solid list. There are actually quite a few books that I want to read on that, which is super exciting. And I was right. Not about most things, but about two things, which is still a win for me. There are a couple of snubs. I was definitely rooting for Hera by Jennifer Saint, because it has been a while since a myth retelling has won. Um, and that book was fantastic. Was also kind of rooting for. I was rooting for Sally Rooney actually. I was rooting for Intermezzo. I understand like it has so much commercial success that it doesn't really need a nomination from The Women's Prize, but you know. Oh my god, you know who else was robbed? Sorry about the background noise, I'm microwaving my lunch. But you know who else was robbed? You know who was top of my list? Who I was so certain was going to get nominated? Elif Shafak with There Are Rivers in the Sky. The robbery of the century, I think. Like, I read The Island of Missing Trees in January. Loved it. Possibly my best book of the year so far. I genuinely, the buzz that has been surrounding There Are Rivers in the Sky, I was so certain that was going to get nominated. My lunch is ready, so I've got to go. But yeah, I'm quite sad about that actually. A little bit disappointed. But that's not going to stop me from reading it once the paperback comes out. I think it comes out this month, next month. It will come out soon, and I will be reading it very soon, possibly. But yeah, that was another robbery which I have just thought of. Yeah, that was another one I was really, really expecting to be on the long list. So yeah. But overall, yeah. I don't know how I was gonna finish that sentence. Yeah, that's it really. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for even more content. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram and Storygraph and Blue Sky. My username on all those platforms is @WithLivJones, same as on here. So yeah, give me a follow there if you want even more content. Yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!